What's going on guys, welcome back to another tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you guys how to create this awesome split button using only HTML and CSS. I had tried to explain every single step, so make sure to watch the tutorial completely. And before moving on to the tutorial, I want to tell you guys that I regularly upload this kind of awesome tutorials on this channel, so I will must recommend you to watch my other videos and also make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Let's start creating our split button. So I had opened the output here. Here you can see we have our split button, which is consisting of one primary button and one secondary button, which is then containing some extra links. Okay, so we have a drop down here which is containing extra links. So let's see how to write HTML for this split button. Okay, so first of all I will create a container for our split button. So I will use div tag and I will give it a class of split btn. The very first thing that I will include in this split button is our primary button, that is this one. Okay, so I will use button tag for our primary button and I will give it a class of primary btn, and I will write button inside it. And now we will create our secondary button, okay, so which is containing drop down content. So what I will do is basically I will create a container which will contain the secondary button and the drop down content. Okay, so I will use div tag again and I will give it a class of drop down container, and this drop down container will contain the secondary button. So I will use button tag and I will give it a class of secondary btn, and inside this button we need a down arrow icon. You can see we have a down arrow icon here, so I will use font awesome icons for including that arrow icon. So let's include CDN of font awesome. So I will open cdnjs.com in new tab. So I will open cdnjs.com and here I will search for font awesome, and I will copy the link tag from here and I will paste it inside our head tag. And now we have included the font awesome CDN and we can use the font awesome icons. So now I will open fontawesome.com in new tab. So I will open fontawesome.com here and we need the chevron icon. So I will search for chevron, and we need the down one. So I will open it and I will copy the HTML part and I will paste it inside our secondary button. Okay, so now you can see we got our down arrow icon. Now let's create the drop down content. Okay, so here you can see this is our drop down content which is containing 3 links. Okay, so I will use div tag for creating the drop down content and I will give it a class of drop down content, and inside this we need 3 links. So I will use anchor tag and I will write link 1 in the first link, and similarly I will create 3 links and I will write link 2 and link 3 in other links. Okay, so with this we have completed our HTML part, and now let's start styling our split button using CSS. So first of all I will start with a basic reset. So I will use universal selector to select all the elements and I will give them margin 0, padding 0 and box sizing of border box. Now I will style our body tag. So I will give it a background color of 131313. And now let's start styling our primary button. So I will target our primary button and I will give it a padding of 15 pixel from top and bottom and 30 pixel from left and right. And also I want some similar styles in both of my button. Okay, so I want some similar style in both primary and secondary button. Okay, so I will select all the buttons inside split button. Okay, so I will target all the button inside split button. So this selector will select all the button inside split button, and let's define some similar styles in both of the buttons. Okay, so I need background color of FF7A00 in both of them. I want to remove the border from them, so I will use border none. I want their color to be white. I want the cursor to be pointer, and I want the font size to be 24 pixel. Also, I want the text transform to be capitalized. And before moving on, let's give some spacing to our button so that we can see it properly. So what I will do is basically I will just give some margin to our split button. So you don't really need margin on split button to create the split button. I had just given the margin so that we can just see it properly. Okay, so now let's continue styling our buttons. So I want font family of Poppins. So let's quickly import Poppins font from Google Fonts. So I will open Google Fonts in new tab. So I had already selected the semi bold font weight. So let's copy the link tag from here and paste it inside our head tag. Okay, and also let's copy the font family and I will paste it inside this selector. Okay, so I will paste it here, and now you can see we got Poppins font. Also you can see the secondary button is starting from the next line. Okay, so this is because the secondary button is inside the drop down container, and the drop down container is basically a div element, and div is a block level element, and block level elements start from the next line. Okay, so we will have to align them in one row. So what I will do is basically I will write display flags in split button, and now you can see both buttons are aligned in one row. Okay, and now let's give some styling to our secondary button. So I will target my secondary button that is inside the drop down container, and now let's give some stylings to it. So first of all, you can see the secondary button is not covering 100% height. So first of all, I will give it a height of 100%. Then I want some padding inside it. So I want 0 padding from top and bottom and 15 pixel padding from left and right. Also I want to give it a border left of 1 pixel solid and white in color, so that we can see from where the primary button and secondary button is splitting. Okay, and now let's add border radius in our primary and secondary button. So I want a border top left radius of 10 pixel in primary button, and also I want border bottom left radius of 10 pixel in primary button. And now in the secondary button I want border top right radius of 10 pixel and border bottom right radius of 10 pixel, and you can see we got some nice border radius on our primary and secondary button, and we are done with the button part. So now let's start creating the drop down content. Okay, so I will target the drop down content, and first of all I will give it a background color of white, and I want to position it in relative to drop down container. So I will write position absolute here, and I will write position relative in drop down container. And now I want some padding inside our drop down content. So I will write padding property here, and I want 20 pixel padding from top, 60 pixel padding from right, 20 pixel padding from bottom, and 20 pixel padding from left. So now you can see we got some nice padding inside drop down content. I also want to add a border radius of 5 pixel. And now let's start styling our anchor tags inside our drop down content. Okay, so I will remove the underline from them. so I will use text decoration none, and I want their color to be FF7A00, and I want their font family to be Poppins. So I will copy the font family from here and I will paste it here. And here you can see the links are wrapping into the next line. Okay, and we don't want that. We want the link to be in one single line always. So what I will do is basically I will use the white space property and I will pass no wrap in it. So you can see now our links will be in one single line. Let's also give our links some spacing from bottom. So I will give them margin bottom, but I will not give margin bottom to the last link because there is no other link in bottom of it. So we don't want any extra margin bottom. So I will target all the anchor tags inside the drop down content, but not the last child. So this selector will select all the anchor tags inside drop down content, but not the last child. So I will give them margin bottom of 20 pixel. But notice here that margin bottom is not getting applied to our anchor tags. And this is because margin top and margin bottom doesn't apply on inline level elements. Anchor tag is an inline level element, so margin top and margin bottom will not apply on it. So remember this point that margin left and margin right does apply on inline level elements, but margin top and margin bottom doesn't apply on inline level elements. So now to make margin bottom work on anchor tag, what we will have to do is we will have to convert it to either inline block level element or block level element. So I will convert it to block level element using display block. And now you can see the margin bottom is getting applied to our anchor tag. And now let's start creating some hover animation. So initially we want to hide our drop down content, and when we will hover on our secondary button, we want to make our drop down content visible. So initially let's hide the drop down content. So I will give opacity 0 to drop down content, and you can see the drop down content is invisible, but still the cursor is detecting the links. Okay, so you can see my cursor is still detecting those 3 links. Okay, and this is because even if you have given opacity 0 to an element, the cursor events or the pointer events are still applicable on that element. So to remove the cursor or pointer events, I will use pointer events property and I will pass none to it. And now you can see the cursor or pointer events is removed. So we had made the drop down content invisible initially, and now what we want is when we will hover on our drop down container, so I will target our drop down container in hover state, and when we will hover on our drop down container, I want drop down content to get some stylings, and these stylings are basically opacity of 1, and also I want all pointer events to be applicable, so I will write pointer events all. And now you can see when I will hover on drop down container, the drop down content is becoming visible. Okay, so currently the effect is so much sudden, so let's add a transition on drop down content. So I will write transition property in drop down content, and I want the transition in all the properties, and I want the transition duration to be 0.3 seconds. And now you can see when I will hover on drop down container, the drop down content is becoming visible. Now let's add some more hover effects. So I will add a hover effect on our buttons. So what I want is basically when we will hover on our buttons, I want to change their background color. So I will target our buttons in hover state, and I want to change their background color to D86B06, and you can see when I will hover on our button, the background color is changing. Let's also add transition in our buttons. So I will add a transition property here, and we are changing the background color property. So I will write background color here, and I want the transition duration to be 0.3 seconds. And now the last thing that is left is to add a hover effect on our links. Okay, so let's quickly add that hover effect. So I will target my links inside the drop down content, and I want to give them some styling when they will be in hover state. So I just want to move them in right direction. Okay, so I will use transform and translate X, and I will move them in the right direction by 10 pixels. So now you can see when I will hover on the links, they are moving in the right direction. Let's also add transition on our anchor elements. So I will add transition property here, and we are changing the transform property. So I will write transform here, and I want the transition duration to be 0.3 seconds. And now you can see we got our hover animation on anchor elements, and our split button is completed. So this was it, guys. Look how easily we created this amazing split button. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and understood every single step. But still, if you have any doubts related to any step, just feel free to comment your doubts below. I will keep uploading more such awesome tutorials on this channel, so make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And before ending this video, let me tell you guys that this YouTube channel is in collaboration with an amazing platform known as Nutanix School. You can check out their website, the link is in description. And also let's understand a bit about what exactly is Nutanix School. Let's see about what is Nutanix School. So Nutanix School is a platform which prepares you for your career in tech. It has courses designed for working professionals, freshers, and even people with no tech background. That means even if you are from a non-tech background, you can also join this platform and can make your career in tech. Nutanix School will first train you for 6 months and will help you become an amazing full stack developer. Now you might be thinking whether this platform is free or not. So let me tell you a cool thing, that you don't have to pay Nutanix School anything until and unless you are placed with a minimum 5 lakh CTC. I repeat guys, you don't have to pay Nutanix School anything for the 6 months full stack developer training until and unless you are placed with a minimum 5 lakh CTC. And I think this is something that all of us should expect from any training program. So must check out their website for more information. I will provide the link in description. Now on their website you can see they have something called the Launchpad. So Launchpad is basically an initiative taken by Nutanix School for people who want to start their coding journey from scratch, and that too absolutely free of cost. This video of mine will be also available on the Launchpad section. You can go there anytime and you can learn basics of programming languages, you can practice quizzes, and even you can do assignments. These all things are completely free to do. And now I will see you guys in the next tutorial.